Joining us now via Zoom is Ken Gutman, Superintendent of the Walled Lake Consolidated Schools. Mr. Gutman, thank you very much for joining us here on the MegaCast.
Well, it's always a pleasure to join you, respected journalists.
Yeah, thank you. Quote unquote, respected journalist. Hey, listen, I've never claimed to be a respected journalist. I'm just a radio broadcaster who started out as a DJ, ended up somehow becoming a talk radio host, and then having this great opportunity. And I didn't, Tyler, you did, when you were at Michigan State, did you have real journalism training?
I wouldn't call working on a news parody show as journalism training. So no.
Yeah, no, not at all.
I have to tell you, you two do a great job, and this show has had such a diversity of guests, such a wealth of opportunity that it's just been really a pleasure to be with you throughout these last several months. And so, in all sincerity, you're doing a great job.
Well, thanks, Ken. I really appreciate it. And listen, we wouldn't be where we are without participation of our superintendents and other folks in the community. And you've been just fantastic. You've been with us on several occasions. And now we'll move on from the Mutual Admiration Society, get to the news of the day. And yesterday, the governor took a lot of time before the people of the state of Michigan to talk about the return of education. I assume you are watching. Bottom line, kids will be in school in the fall. Tell us what you gleaned from the governor yesterday.
Well, so I don't know that I gleaned that kids will be in school in the fall, although we certainly hope that's the case. We believe that will be allowed, assuming that there's no more greater public health risk in the fall, a second wave of coronavirus, that sort of thing. And we do know that the governor has a group working right now on making recommendations by the end of the month as to what we can do to reopen. So I do believe that there's an opportunity for us to reopen in the fall. Excuse me, we're going to err on the side of caution, of course, and put public health first. We don't want to put our students or staff in a situation where they're unsafe in the fall. And we do believe we'll end up offering an option for fully virtual school, should that be allowed. So, there's a lot still to be determined. We have committees working right now on making recommendations over the next 4 weeks or so to determine what we believe will be the best options for our students and our parents.
All right, Ken Gutman, Walled Lake Schools Superintendent, joining us today. We appreciate him being here in the MegaCast. And we heard the same thing from Dr. Hill in West Bloomfield when we talked to him a couple of days ago, that there was going to be an option for parents and families who feel they'd be better off, they'd be safer with their students exclusively at home. And then, as Pat Watson said, another great superintendent at Bloomfield Hills, he said, hope is not a plan. We can put all these plans in place, but we don't know what's going to happen with the coronavirus. And maybe we can't have anybody in the building. Maybe we can have a larger group of students in the building than you're anticipating right now. But the plans are all being put in place. You're working on it. And does the model that West Bloomfield put out, they're one of the first to publicize their plan. Some students, if they elect to, can stay at home, and they're not going to have the full numbers in the school. Some students will be in the schools on some days, others will be in other days. Is that kind of a model? Is that the kind of thing that you think we're heading towards in your district and most districts around the state?
I really don't want to prejudge what our committees will come up with at this point. I'm going to wait to see. There are two factors to this, Dave. One is see what our committees come up with. We have a robust major committee right now that has health professionals, teachers, educators, administrators, and others on it, all of our stakeholder groups represented to try to create the best solutions for everyone. The second factor, though, is what can we afford? And we don't need to bemoan the state budget right now unless you want to, nor do we need to bemoan what's happening with public education funding. But I don't want to publish a plan until I know how much money I have. And we certainly don't know how much money we have right now. Some of these hybrid models are more expensive than what we do now when we're looking at historic budget cuts.
Well, I don't want to bemoan the state budget, but I think I think we have to talk about money, and I appreciate you bringing the subject up because you're right. The plans that we're looking at, they don't cost less; they cost more. We get that, and ultimately, it comes down to what will the federal government doing? The state can only do so much. State has reduced revenue because of sales tax and other taxes that have not come in. We all know that. And the state has other obligations and responsibilities as well. They can move some dollars around, but they couldn't move enough dollars around given the limited funds they have to solve the problem of education. Now, yesterday in the press conference, the governor alluded to the fact that she, and I don't have her exact words, Tyler, maybe we have a quote you could pull up, but it seemed that the governor alluded to the fact that she felt progress was being made in Washington and that we would see support for education here in Michigan from Washington, D.C.
I certainly hope that's the case, and I've been led to believe that by our legislators at the federal level. They've been great in responding to me and really trying to work. Well, Haley Stevens and Gary Peters have been great in working with us. We hope that's the case, but there are still some things, Dave, that can be done in Michigan. We would look for some flexibility, for example. The enrollment counts. If we were to be funded next year at this year's count because of the variability and unpredictability of next year's enrollment, that would help us financially. If we were able to lift limitations on our ability to deliver classes virtually, that would help us. Seat time waivers, the requirement that there's 75% daily attendance. If they could waive that, that helps us in other ways. So there are other areas in which the state of Michigan can help us between now and the beginning of next school year.
So is there a move to make those adjustments to the rules and guidelines that schools must follow here in the state of Michigan?
While we currently are advocating for federal funding, we're also advocating for those and speaking to our legislators, and we're hopeful that something can be done because there's some action that can be done locally across the state of Michigan to help schools, and we're hoping they're able to do that for us.
All right. Well, Ken, I appreciate it. I know you guys have a very difficult path ahead of you, and we're coming up to the end of the school year. Do you have any other thoughts about money for this school year? Is the state going to continue to fund things the way you expected, or are you expecting, do you have any updates for us on what you folks in the education world call a proration, which essentially means the state's going to give you less money?
We've been given no word whether there will be a proration. We have 12 days to hold our breath. And, hopefully at the end of 12 days, we've not heard from anyone in that regard because we've spent our money for the year. Our year is over. The money's gone. How much more can you take?
No, I get it. It's a real challenge, and you got next year to deal with, and this year to clean up, and this is all falling right in the middle of all that. Ken Gutman is the superintendent of schools of the Walled Lake Consolidated School District. Ken, I didn't get a chance to do much prep today, or talk to you extensively before we went on the air. Were you in that education? What was it yesterday? Open house education town hall is what they called it. Did you participate in that yesterday?
I did not. Unfortunately, I was tied up in meetings all day. I was not a part of that.
Hey, Tyler, why don't you pop in here for a minute?
Yes.
Can you just give us a summary of what was said in the education town hall yesterday, and just give Ken and I some kind of feedback? There was a education town hall with a number of superintendents from around Oakland County. What was the main conversation?
They talked about a number of different issues. So Representative Brenda Carter's office, originally they were going to have different state and federal leadership involved in the town hall, but state and federal leaders got called into session. So it was really a Q&A and a discussion between Pontiac Superintendent, West Bloomfield Superintendent, and Avondale Schools Superintendent about a number of different issues that included programs for kids who may not be able to be in school and have to learn virtually entirely. Dr. Hill talked about plans for a hybrid program that gives some options. Pontiac Schools talked about partnering with community organizations for those families whose kids are going to have to maybe learn virtually in the fall on days when they're not in school, but their parents are going to be back in work. And they also talked about partnership between Oakland County schools and Oakland schools and these various different school districts to provide things like nursing and help with other programs to help support these students in an unknown, but also kind of a known unknown of a virtual, in-person, hybrid, or one or the other. That may be the case come fall.
So with that, Ken Gutman, are there things that Oakland schools can do to coordinate between the districts to maybe offer some combined services or reduce costs?
We're really grateful to Oakland schools. Thanks. Good question, Dave. I know you had Dr. Wanda Cook Robinson on the show recently. Wanda is a fantastic leader. I've had the honor of working with her for about probably 15 years now in different capacities. And she's worked with our executives at Oakland County to bring us school nurses. And so it's not a permanent position, but it's a start. And to have school nurses across Oakland County at a time of a global pandemic is particularly helpful. So that is one area in which we're really grateful for the partnership with Oakland schools. I start hearing about what's going on around us, and I think this is one of the biggest challenges we've faced in our careers, in our lifetimes. And at the same time, I think what a great opportunity. If we're going to rethink how we deliver education, this is the time to be innovative. This is the time to be creative. This has given us a chance to make things happen that previously may not have had the same impetus behind.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, this has been a headache, a challenge, a financial drain, and it's almost taken our country down economically. Meanwhile, America and the people right here in Oakland County, I'm so proud of everybody. We've all stood tall. We put on our masks. We've washed our hands. We've helped. Parents have helped their students cope with being at home and trying to learn in a new way. And you're right, Ken Gutman. We have an opportunity now to find new ways to help teach students here in our country. And, we've been sitting at desks with paper and pencil and books. And I know we have computers now, but we've been doing that for a couple of centuries, right? So wholesale change of education is here, whether we want it or not, it's here. And I expect that a lot of things are going to start to come up. We've talked, I remember having a conversation with my parents when I was a kid back in the 70s when I was going to high school. And, none of us really understood why school closed in the summer. I was going to West Northfield High School. It was an air-conditioned building. I didn't have to work in agriculture in the summer. And many of us in Michigan, some do still, but a lot of us don't. Is even that is an example. But we have some traditions that may be outdated that we can update now because we have to, Ken Gutman.
100% agree. And what I don't want to do is start a panic in Walled Lake by throwing some ideas out there. And then, Walled Lake's going to year-round schools or Walled Lake's going to offer evening classes. That's not the plan right now, just to be clear. But why aren't we talking about that? Why aren't we talking about, look, with this virtual option? First of all, we know parents can't return to work until students are back in school. So that's an obstacle to overcome. But looking forward over the next several years, why are we not offering evening opportunities for classes, particularly with high school students? Why aren't we looking at our start time? Why aren't we looking at some year-round or some balanced calendar types of things? And a lot of us have looked at them. We've discussed them. There hasn't been a lot of momentum behind them because people are entrenched in the traditional. That's not the way we always did it. And it's time that we were able to rethink that. And this has given us the opportunity to do so.
All right, Ken. Well, thanks for your time today. The school districts, I enjoy talking to the superintendents because you guys are at the intersection of food and other community services, of educating our kids, of being the center point for so much interaction with the community you're just right in the middle of it. You've done a great job taking care of things. And then I see school districts that are continuing to feed people during the summer. I mean, it's just amazing what's been going on. So great job, Ken. By the way, graduation, what's the update on that?
Well, we do have some dates reserved, July 31st and August 2nd at Eastern Michigan University in the Convocation Center. We're still hopeful that can happen, although we need to make a decision soon so parents can either keep the dates on their calendar or not. Last Sunday, we had 3 incredible senior honor ceremonies. They drove into one of our facilities. We had large screens and a stage. Parents and students decorated their cars, students in caps and gowns. It was an emotionally draining, positive event. I love what our community did. They turned out and we celebrated the achievements of our accomplishments of our seniors.
I'm so sorry I was not there. I was unavailable on Sunday, but I'm really glad to hear that. And if you have anyone, you or Judy, have any video, we'd love it if you'd send it along, and we'll post it on our website. And congratulations to all the graduating seniors in Walled Lake and across our entire listening area. Ken, anything you want to add before we say so long?
I just continue to be so proud of the Walled Lake Schools community, the staff, the parents, the administrators, community members who stepped up to take care of children the very best they could during very challenging times. And it's just an honor to be of service to the community.
Superintendent Ken Gutman of the Walled Lake Schools, thank you very much for joining us.